But I've been repeating all the time that what matters in the investment, in the end, the bottom line is the data, because this is what carries the value. This is what is of most importance to you. And this is why we invest in solutions like described in this webinar to protect this data against the threats, corruption, and to improve our experience and business experience. We usually provide IT services too. So I'm focusing on the data here because Pure understands this requirement. As you might have already heard, Pure doesn't introduce any licensing model within their product landscape, so within our product landscape. Every particular feature that we have enabled in our products is available for your use without limitations in terms of capacity or interoperability or model being used at the specific time. This applies to data protection at most, because again, the data is the most important piece of your storage in such, or your environment in such case. That's why all the protection levels of the data, all the replication levels and business continuity is introduced and included with every Pure product that you might be willing to purchase. I will move forward through the data protection schemes now, so you have final understanding about what we can do with the data before we safe mode it, and which is basically the bottom line of this presentation in terms of ransomware. So first of all, having two Pure products, either flash arrays C or X, you can connect them together over fiber channel or IP replication and enable synchronous replication of data across the products, regardless whether they are in the same data center, different business units, different countries, where it's not that rare in the region that we work in. The data replicated in this manner is not just the volume synchronous replication, it's actually the geographically dispersed cluster of data, meaning the same portion of data, the same blocks, or in the end, the same LAN or the volume, whatever you call it, is available of read-write mode in both locations, without any IO redirection, without any mastership around processing of the data. The IO is being processed to the same volume, to the same file system in both locations simultaneously. This basically speaks not only for the shortest RPO and RTO available, this speaks for the fully automated business continuity of your data. So in other words, simplest example, the data store or the virtual machine running in one data center in case of failure or data corruption in one data center will simply move across to the other array to continue its performance and operation without any manual intervention. And this can be as short as changing the path between the server and the array. So in other words, unnoticeable to the business and your application. And this comes without any license. This is a fully automated solution, self-healing, and available to you as potential Pure user if only you decide to use any two Pure arrays, either X or C. If you're interested what the difference is between X and C, just let us know either over email or in the chat panel or in the Q&A box. By the way, if you have any questions, please raise them up through the Q&A box and we will answer online or afterwards over the email. So if you're interested in differences, let us know. We will conduct an appropriate session for you. However, first point taken, whatever you have, if you use Pure, you have business, 100% business continuity included all the time, period. Secondly, I mentioned that if you do have data centers in different countries and the distance is long or your link is simply not that performant to allow synchronous replication, we can in the same manner replicate between two Pure products from one country to another or through the slow link to another destination, just as quick as the link allows us to do so. So in other words, we don't care about the speed of the link, we replicate as fast as we can. Difference is the data will be read-write available on the source and the target will be read-only. However, with a single command, with a single click, we can change it and make both locations read-write and then resynchronize either way of our choice. So this is another option. So we have a bigger distance or a different link infrastructure, and it's also available to any pure user right next to synchronous replication. And finally, obviously, the most favorite and most commonly used replication method, which is incremental block forever snapshot-based replication. So in other words, asynchronous replication. Obviously, standardized and available with pure storage across the portfolio. What is very, well, let's say, critical from my perspective to mention is that asynchronous replication with pure is based on protection groups, and protection groups do allow you to snapshot multiple volumes at exactly same millisecond consistently. So in case of having multi-volume database, virtual machine, or any system, you can make sure that the snapshot is consistent. So since I have mentioned snapshots, what snapshots are in Pure? These are fully metadata representations of your volumes. So in other words, we create pointers to data, we store them protected across our storage pool, and we keep them there as long as you need them to exist. They don't influence performance of the array because once the metadata is written, we don't have to maintain it. And it obviously works with your capacity because as long as the data is protected by the snapshot, you cannot remove it. So even if you remove the data on your production and the snapshot is there, you won't see a benefit of cleaning up the space. That's pretty obvious. But what I'm pointing to is that this is very capacity effective solution for protecting data just before you replicate it. So you have a disaster recovery protection over here. And since we are playing around pointers and metadata here, we can obviously use those snapshots for cloning. And by using metadata, that your clones will not be space consuming when you create them. Even if you create 1,000 copies in terms of clones of your volume, they will not consume data. If you write to your clones, the writes will be stored in new places, so your production or your source will not get jeopardized or overwritten. And by the way, we do reduce, so they duplicate and compress the data of your snapshots, and we also do inline efficiency for the data you write to your clones, like you do to your production volumes. So in other words, even having 100 clones doesn't mean you will multiply your new data consumption by 100 times. No, it just not happen. We will write only unique data here. So you can imagine now that having a data protection schema of your choice and the implementation of your choice, whatever, you can tell your business that finally they can afford RTO of 0 because we have active cluster in place. You can also think about replicating data to a single device over snapshots or over ActiveDR, storing it on the price effective terabyte on FlashArray//C on flash, and having multiple budgets integrated on one device. One is disaster recovery because you have consistent volumes replicated. Second will be test and dev. Since you have consistent volumes, you can clone them and make use of the performance of the flash device you're actually running for your data replication. And finally, because it's a replicated data, it can be integrated with a backup application in such case, because many modern data application backup third-party devices do integrate over API or plugins with Pure, either Veeam, Rubrik, Commvault, Cohesity, Veritas, etc., many more, and they will make your backup consistent in terms of application, so using the available agents with Pure Snapshot. So your backup will be created on the snapshot. Now, some people say, well, snapshot isn't the backup copy. Yeah, indeed. However, even if you think so, if you replicate the snapshot with your consistent backup using your backup application to another device and coming back again, it can be either flash array C, another flash array X, it can be our FlashBlade presenting NFS and enabling very rapid restores. If you are suffering from very long time of, for example, data warehouse or critical databases restores, FlashBlade can restore multiple terabytes of data in minutes. Exemplum gratia, 10 terabytes in 30 minutes because of its performance and scale-out architecture. You can replicate this data to the cloud, either private or public, because without any middleware required, we integrate with external cloud engines and with S3, or to NFS, coming from either Linux box, competitor's device, or from your favorite source. So in other words, you get everything secured and managed in a single place. It's up to you, the method you decide to choose, how you want to implement it. RPO, RTO, and the business process is at your hand, because Pure does enable it, gives you a freedom of choice, and doesn't introduce any licensing, nor will introduce any licensing. It will just be available to you. So, all this very lengthy introduction brings us to the clue of this presentation, which is safe mode. Now, we have realized that in the pandemic, especially given the last year, companies have become very vulnerable to ransomware attacks, and they've become very common. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been wasted on ransomware attacks and ransom threats coming from all around the world. You know where they come from, so I don't have to explain it here. Well, Pure has also realized that. That's why we have introduced safe mode to all our products running Purity, which basically means to all our products, except for Portworx, but this will be underlined in a few minutes. So, when having any flash array, either X or C or FlashBlade at your hand for your data, you can enable safe mode for your snapshots. What safe mode means for snapshot is they become immutable. The authorized people by Pure from the company are getting pins that allow them to communicate with support over managing the snapshots on the device. Where safe mode is enabled, the snapshot cannot be removed by the storage admin nor by anybody logging into the array, except for support. If support is called to remove the snapshot, it will ask for the PIN that has been previously introduced to the authorized personnel from the company. The immutable snapshot stays on the array for as long as 30 days and minimum time 24 hours. It cannot be eradicated. Even somebody jeopardizes access to the array, they will not be able to remove the data. So in case your data gets either encrypted or malicious software is getting installed or anything is corrupted, in any case, you just log into the device, restore the snapshot, which takes from milliseconds to seconds, and you adjust your data to the representation from before the attack. Moreover, if you run it on FlashBlade, which uses the file and object protocols, you can perform a fully automated file system rollback based on the snapshot to the consistent point from the moment when the snapshot was created. Moreover, it doesn't only apply to your production data, because the aforementioned scenario where you would replicate everything, for example, to the C array, means that you can basically have safe mode protected your production snapshot and your replicated snapshot. So even in the case where your production gets totally removed, or the array is just powered off, corrupted, whatever happens, knock it out, but it can happen. Your replicated snapshot is also safe moded. And now you can apply any scenario I had mentioned before. So either clone it or restore it from backup, or just mount it directly from your replicated device to the host and start using them immediately with the data that has not been jeopardized. All right, full flexibility and full security over authorization to perform safe mode. In the future, our aim is, and it might happen yet this year, that being a pure user will allow you to enable safe mode through the Pure One system that basically becomes your monitoring tool in the cloud whenever you are the pure user. So to conclude the safe mode case, this is our ransomware remediation. Sure, you want to implement it on the storage, which makes it very effective. It's free of charge whenever you are a pure user, like with all our data protection schemes. And what is very important to mention is that you can test it virtually. Sure, you want to know how you administer Pure, how easy it is, and how it actually works with safe mode for you in order to prove that we are not marketing you around immutable snapshots here. So sure, you want to get a voucher for virtual lab for FlashArray or FlashBlade with safe mode enabled and with existing scenario to run, just let us know over email and we will generate this voucher for you so you can play around with Pure and experience this with your very eyes. Now, perhaps I shouldn't do it, but there might be some of you here that are focused or interested in containers. And containers do require data protection as well. Basically, they require quite a lot more because they're becoming a standard for microservices and development in multiple companies, but people have been not recognizing containers as fully production ready, mainly because they were lacking data consistency and protection mechanisms like implemented with VMware, Hyper-V, Citrix, or anything else. Well, Pure is now offering you the before acquired software from a company called Portworx, which has been a leader for container solutions. Why I'm telling you this is that Portworx would bring your microservices into production level of adoption, because what Portworx does, it provides the consistent backup of your service on containers. So it's not only the containers themselves, it's also the metadata and full configuration information. So you want to back up your service running on containers to either any other storage that is being operated by Portworx, and the list is full of vendors because Portworx is heterogeneous, or replicated to S3. And this is up to where you want to store it on. But again, FlashBlade does S3, and FlashBlade enables you at least 15 gigabytes per second restore, so you want to consistently restore your environment, for example, to the representation from before the ransomware attack. Moreover, Portworx enables disaster recovery replication of your services together with snapshot security. So again, once we integrate Portworx fully with Pure, you will be able to protect your containerized environments also with safe mode and replication automatically. So please bear in mind, again, show your evolution now. Consider Pure. If there's another layer of containers on your mind as well, this can be easily and simply integrated when going into Pure storage direction. Now, what is I've mentioned before, Pure One. So even if it all sounds complex around multiple products, and we don't actually have that many, we actually have 3 products in terms of hardware together with software and Portworx on the side. All these products would report the status to the engine called Pure One, intelligent engine run in the AWS cloud by Pure. Any Pure customer has access to it. And this is the place where you will not only see the global dashboard of your portfolio, but all your snapshots will be listed there together with all comprehensive information like the creation time, expiration time, retention, etc. So you can basically gather up information logically in the single window from all your devices and look for something I called the green list. So the list of green ticks saying you are protected because your snapshot is there and it's safe moded. So in order to integrate all this, I understand loads of information I have just presented from this slide and multiple options available, to one, please bear in mind that Pure One would be your single tool for monitoring and analysis. In such case, so you want to perform multiple data protection options across the Pure portfolio. Now, I hope this has been worthwhile. We have you covered